What happens when India's rising chess superstar faces the goat of chess in a battle of minds? Buckle up, chess fans. Today we're breaking down the insane game, where 22-year-old Arjun Erigaisi just defeated Magnus Carlsen in the 6th round of the FIDE Freestyle Chess World Championship 2026. In the red corner, we have Arjun, rated 2758, India's youngest superstar and an absolute tactical monster. And in the blue corner, Magnus Carlsen, the 2887 rated Norwegian legend, 5-time world champion, and basically the final boss of chess. This is freestyle chess, where the pieces start in random positions, and players will be given 10 minutes prep time before actual match starts. So even Magnus can't rely on memorized openings. Let's dive into this masterpiece. Alright, before we jump in, quick reminder. The starting position in freestyle chess is totally scrambled. Notice how the king and rooks are in weird spots. This means pure creativity, zero opening prep. Both players are flying blind. Love it? Take a moment and try to analyze this position. The game starts. Arjun plays pawn to f4. Magnus responds with pawn to f5. Both players are fighting for central space right away. Arjun plays pawn to c4, classic Queen's Gambit vibes. Magnus replies knight to b6, developing his knight and eyeing that c4 pawn. Arjun plays pawn to d3, solidifying the center. Magnus plays pawn to c6, super solid. Arjun plays pawn to g3, preparing to fianchetto his bishop. Magnus mirrors with pawn to g6. Arjun gets spicy with pawn to b4. He's pushing on the b file aggressively to rip open black's position. Magnus counters in the center with pawn to e5. The tension is building. Arjun continues the assault, pawn to a4. Magnus strikes back in the center with pawn to d5, challenging white's pawn chain. Here's where it gets interesting. Arjun plays pawn to a5. This aggressive push restricts Magnus' knight and gains space. Magnus retreats, knight to d7. Arjun captures pawn on d5. Magnus recaptures the pawn on d5. Arjun takes other pawn on e5. Magnus responds bishop takes e5, his bishop comes alive. Boom! Arjun plays bishop takes a7, snatching a free pawn, bold move. Magnus plays rook to a8, attacking that greedy bishop. The bishop retreats to e3. Magnus develops queen to e7. Arjun jumps his knight to c2, regrouping his pieces. Magnus plays knight to c7. Arjun brings out knight to f3, developing and controlling key squares. Magnus plays bishop to c3, right in white's grill. Arjun responds knight back to d4. Magnus plays rook to e8, activating the rook. Arjun brings bishop to f3. Magnus pushes pawn to b6. Arjun moves bishop to d2. Magnus exchanges bishop takes knight. Arjun recaptures knight takes bishop on d4. Magnus grabs pawn takes pawn on a5. Arjun centralizes his queen to c2. Magnus continues pawn takes pawn on b4. Arjun castles kingside, getting his king to safety. Magnus plays queen to c5, active queen. Arjun plays queen to b2, eyeing the long diagonal. Magnus plays queen to b6. Arjun activates his rook to c1, pressuring the c-file. Magnus plays a key move knight to e5, jumping into the center and threatening stuff. Arjun develops his remaining piece bishop to f4, attacking that knight. Magnus plays king to d7, getting off the back rank. Arjun tucks his king to h1. Magnus brings his rook to c8. Arjun trades, bishop takes knight on e5. Magnus recapture rook takes bishop on e5. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where Arjun turns up the heat. Knight to c6. The knight jumps to a fantastic central square, dominating the board. Magnus plays rook to e6. Arjun placed his queen to g7 with check. Arjun's queen invades the 7th rank, attacking Magnus' king and creating massive threats. Magnus is forced to run, king to d6. The knight joins the party, knight to d4, coordinating with the queen. Magnus tries to defend rook to e8, doubling rooks. And the knockout punch, rook takes pawn on b4. Arjun is up material, his pieces are perfectly coordinated, and Magnus' king is caught in the middle of the board with nowhere to hide. Magnus resigns here. Even the world's best can be outplayed when you combine aggression, precise calculation, and fearless play. Arjun showed no fear, going toe-to-toe with the GOAT. Arjun Erigaisi just proved he belongs at the absolute top. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe for more chess analysis, and drop a comment telling me which game you want to see next. Thanks for watching.